What was that like? What was Nashville like back in 2008?
As a mediumly successful songwriter, I wanted to represent the people in the middle. I love seeing something I hadn't thought of and hearing them nail it. Because
Hmm.
when you hear something you haven't thought of and they did not nail it, and then you're just like, oh,
What a waste.
or too dumb for New York, too ugly for LA. Like that's Nashville. It's like, Amanda, shut up. Amanda, shut up. She's gonna have to edit so much of this. I'm so sorry. Also, I did the whole podcast without cussing. To call it so rude, you were so nice. And you're giving Dak Shepard and Theo Von a run for their money, and I'm here for it.
Hey, this is Paige and this is the So Rude podcast. Welcome to the show. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the So Rude podcast. My name is Paige and I am so excited to welcome a special guest to the show. Amanda Flynn Phillips is a powerhouse songwriter and a very passionate advocate for creators with more than 15 years in the music industry. Her songwriting catalog spans film, television, and radio, including co-writing Chase Rice's Jack Daniels and Jesus, the song and namesake of his headlining tour. After leading over 100 songwriting chapters worldwide as director of chapters for the Nashville Songwriting Association International, NSAI, Amanda now expands that mission as head of business operations at EVA Entertainment, empowering top-tier talent and independent creatives with the tools and opportunities to thrive in this ever-evolving industry landscape. Known for her quick wit, unwavering optimism, and deep commitment to championing others, Amanda is dedicated to the dreamers and empowering those bold enough to make their dreams a reality. I am beyond ecstatic to have her on the show today, and I cannot wait to dig into all of her genius. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on the So Rude podcast.
You are a precious human, and I could be done now. That bio is all I need. So thank you for doing that so beautifully and for having me on. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. And I just have to say thank you. And I so appreciate your flexibility and willingness. This has been in the making for quite a while now. And I'm so happy we finally got it working.
Yeah, I mean, but that also shows you like literally over a year of just like ping pong of like, hey, I've got this life thing, you've got this thing. Well, oh, we can do it at this time. Oh, I forgot what day of the week it was. So yeah, so thank you as well for being flexible because we have had quite the volleyball of life events in the last year.
Which makes it even more fun because now we're going to get to chat about so many different topics. But I agree. The timing today was the day.
Today's the day.
And I know I shared a little bit about your creative background, but can you kind of walk us back and talk a little bit more about growing up and where you're from prior to coming to Nashville?
Yeah, so I'm from a tiny town called Smiths Grove, Kentucky. We now have a Buc-ee's, so we're on the map. But before that, it was a truck stop town, and there was not a whole lot to do. But my cousin wrote songs, and her name's Tammy, and she was just who I love to go spend weekends with, hang out with. She's my oldest cousin, and I was the baby. My parents are both babies of babies, so mom's the youngest of five, my dad's the youngest of four. So lots of cousins. And she was just always the one that kind of would like take me under her wing and we'd go shopping and we'd have sleepovers and she wrote songs. So she'd play me the songs she wrote and I thought it was so cool. And she was the one that taught me that I always loved music, like more so than TV, more so than anything. I always just would use my cassette tape player or the record player and then CDs. But she was the one that when I would open cassettes, and you would see like the liner notes, there were these little tiny font names. She's like, those are the songwriters. Those are the ones that write the songs. So I just became like obsessed with it. And at 7, I was like, I'm going to be a songwriter. That's what I'm going to do. That's what Tammy does. And I wrote my first song. And then I would do poems and stuff like that. But it was the first time I'd actually put it to like a melody in my head. And I kind of just did it. And at the time, I thought I was a great singer until I heard a recording of myself in my mom's Oldsmobile, and my sister put it in, and I was like, "Huh," and she goes, "That's you." I was like, "Ah, okay, so maybe I'll just write the songs. I won't sing them." But yeah, so just did that and loved it. Just kind of did it for me. Didn't really think much of it. Enjoyed doing it. Enjoyed talking with my cousin about it, things like that, just bonding over it. But music was and is everything. Like that's how I put my it was like I didn't keep a diary, but I can remember what songs timestamp what part of life I was in. So, like Angry All the Time. I remember when that came on the radio, I was like in middle school crying, going down Richardsville Road because I was like, why are we just all angry all the time? Like, you're a teenager and you feel everything, like as much as you can feel. And just like Faith Hill's It Matters to Me. And just like what a time, like getting to be a kid and a teenager in the 90s was the best time for having your heart on the radio. Like, just like I was on my third divorce, as a 12-year-old, just singing these songs on the way to Sears, to buy
Naturally.
an Easter dress. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, did that. Um, Always never didn't write songs, just always did. And then I wanted to move to Nashville when I graduated high school, but the rule was we pay for college, you go. So I went. Um, During that time, I had multiple different majors because I didn't realize that you should stick to something. I was like, oh, I'm going to try this, so I'm going to try that. But then I finally went into interior design and architecture, and I was going to flip houses. This is before TV shows were doing that, but I wanted to flip houses and like restore and preserve the historic houses in Bowling Green. And loved my professors, loved them. I went to Western, and it was 2007 at this time, and our professor was like, "Hey, the market is about to crash. For those of you wanting to like flip houses and do real estate, like this isn't the time to do that. So let's talk about a plan B." And I told him, I was like, I always wanted to write songs. And he's like, you can always go back to school. You can't always chase your dream. I think now's the time. And when he said that, I was like, the market's not going to crash. Like, how would that even affect me? It's, you're 21 and everything is still new and forever the optimist. And so it was just a series of God things, like over the course of the next 2 weeks. And my parents were going through a divorce at the time, so college wasn't being paid for, which was fine. So I was like, hey, this is my out. This is the wink that I need that, I'll just go. And um, so, I mean, in the course of 2 weeks, and I kept seeing a bunch of signs like that were hummingbird related. But I got offered a job. Someone knew a girl that lived here who needed someone to live with her for 6 months before her lease was up. So, I mean, it was just like I had a job, I had a house. My best friend was like, yeah, I'll help you move. Like, so it just kind of all came together. And yeah, that was in 2008, and I've lived here ever since.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that is so powerful. And it sounded like so many little things were just lining up to be almost a sign of like, hey, this is you got to do it. Like, you got to make the move now. And also so fascinating that a professor would say, oh, instead of like flipping houses or architecture, like music. It's like, maybe today they'd be like, what do you mean you're giving up this stable career to go into music? But at that point in time, it really was like everyone's home, and that whole industry was just exploding.
It was that, and two, he was the one that pointed out because it wasn't just like interior design and architecture. He gave us the coolest projects to work on. Like I still send him stuff that I'll be like, this looks like something you would have assigned us. And actually, that's like the saddest part of being an adult to me is I miss those assignments. Like I miss being challenged in the ways that he always challenged us, and it was really, really cool. And he's a precious, precious human. But he was the one that was like, so much of your art is based off of lyrics, words, songs that you've heard, album covers you've seen, and it's a common thread. And at the same time, I was going to therapy, and my therapist had said, she was like, that was another one of the God winks. And she was like, we've kind of been done for the last like three sessions. She was like, you're fine, you're doing the work, I'm proud of you. But she was like, who are three people that if you were to ever like start fresh, who who would be the people you would want to be like? And of course, I was like, Dolly Parton, Betty White, Minnie Pearl, like those are my things. And she was like, I want you to take what you love about them and go be that in Nashville. And I was like, well, I don't sing. I just write songs because she knew I did because I would tell her. And I have it somewhere amidst the clutter. I have the post-it that she wrote down, and it said Amy Mayo and Liz Rose. And she handed it to me on our last therapy session, and she said, here are two incredible female songwriters that don't sing or play, and they're doing just fine.
Wow.
And so, because I
That's
ran out of excuses, it was like, well, this doesn't make sense, or, you know, I'm a I have technically 2 semesters before I graduate, and it was I dropped out with a 3.8. Like, who does that? But it felt right, and I'm thankful for a mom who was supportive of like, well, go try it. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work. You come back home. I'm like, all right. So, here we
that's
are.
so great. That's so crazy. And it just sounds like you had really great mentors in your life that helped share a piece of wisdom of like life will continue to go on. Like if you try something and it doesn't work out, like life moves on. And wow, that's so cool.
I've been very, very fortunate. And it's not something I realized until probably my mid 20s, where I was like, wow, I have always had someone I trusted to go to be like, hey, shoot me straight on this. Or, whether it was a therapist, a professor, a cousin, like I've definitely always had someone trustworthy and valuable in my corner that will give it to me straight.
This episode is sponsored by Working Order Guitars, your go to for expert guitar repair, maintenance, and custom work in Nashville. Keep your instrument in peak condition and ready for the stage or the studio by visiting Working Order Guitars. And now back to the show. I love that. Another thing that's so interesting is you are one of, I would say, probably one of the first or very few guests I've had that shared like it was the songwriting. Like I was attracted to the songwriting. You know, other people maybe you start in a band or you start out as a producer, you start out playing an instrument and you find writing along the way. You're one of the very few guests that was like, no, it was the writing, it was the lyric, it was the,
Mhm.
reading the liner notes that attracted me to songwriting.
Absolutely. And the wild thing is, NSAI is the reason that liner notes include songwriters' names. So full
What?
circle. Mhm.
They were like they advocated for that?
Mhm. Because before that, it would just be the artist and the lyrics. And so then they started, when royalties and things like that and everything, they made sure that the songwriters' names were included.
Wow, that is so cool. Wow, that's fascinating, and I cannot wait to dig into like the NSAI piece of your story.
I hope I'm
Um,
not misquoting it. Like, if anyone fact checks me, feel free to put an asterisk beside it because I always get like 2/3 of it right. Like, I have the best of intentions when Jill will tell you that. She'll be like, "Yeah, mostly that was correct. However, this actually happened in this decade or the
Leave the comments down below. Give us
Yeah.
engagement. More people will listen.
I'll give you some rage bait.
There we go. So you shared moving to Nashville was right in that 2007, 2008 timeframe. And what was that like? What was Nashville like back in 2008?
So I moved here the day after I turned 22. And I was also a goody two shoes. So I like never really did the bar scene, never did any of that. So I moved to Nashville and I'm like, okay, I have to make friends. Got to find a church, but I'm not going to find all these people in church. Like I've got to go to a bar. So me and my khakis. Um, there was John Rich at the time was doing a thing called Music Row Mafia. And it was this eclectic group. It was John Rich and Gretchen Wilson, and they had why just go, like Damian Horn and Two Foot Fred and a spoken word poet, and like it was just this like cornucopia of wildly talented people that did vastly different things. And so I had heard about it, and it was at this place called Hollywood Disco that is now Cider House.
Mm.
And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go. I got ready. I like hot rolled my hair. I like had on a sweater vest. There was a picture. I will find it. I had a BlackBerry Pearl. I was walking down the street, nervous wreck, just praying the whole time, like, okay, I'm going to go to a bar, but I'm not going to drink, and I'm going to be aware of my surroundings. And I was nervous, and I dropped my phone, and it like shatters. And I hear this like Teddy Ruxpin laugh of like, and this guy gets down and helps me pick it all up. And he's like, "Where are you headed to?" And it was Randy Hauser. And that was right when Honky Tonk Badonka came out. And I was like, "Oh," I said, "I'm headed to," and I like cringe. I'm getting splotchy thinking about it. But I was like, "I'm headed to the bar." And he was like, "Okay." And his girlfriend at the time was there and a couple other people. And they're like, "Well, just come with us." And I go with them. And we walk in the bar. And it was formerly a strip club, by the way. It had been renovated, but like where the stripper stage was now like the performance stage. But there were signs. Anyway, so we're like bypassing everyone. And I'm like, "Well, the show's here. Where are we going? I don't know these people." Well, we go straight back to the green room. And the first time I was ever in a bar, it was Big and Rich, Jamie Johnson, Rascal Flatts, all these people. And Jamie Johnson hadn't put out in color yet, but it was on his MySpace. And I was sitting there, and Randy was like, "You're from Kentucky, right?" And because I told him, and I said, "Yeah." He said, "All right." And instead of getting me a Jack and Coke, he got me a Jim Beam and Coke. And Paige, I drank it like this. Like I like
Oh,
had the straw and I just like I kept my hand over it just in case.
just
I
in
was at a
case.
highly trafficable age. But no one tried to traffic me. But no, everyone was super nice and literally they had it every Tuesday night. And so they're like, "Well, all right, we'll see you next Tuesday." And I would meet up with them every Tuesday. And I wasn't fangirling. I didn't act like I'm not cool by nature, but it took a lot of effort to just be like, "Oh, hey," and Jamie said, and that is when I picked up on, he said, "Are you a songwriter?" And I almost said, I was like, "Well, I'm trying." Oh, and I just said, "Yep, I am." And that's all I said. Like, I wasn't like, "I'm not signed," or I'm just a songwriter. I just said, "Yeah, I am. Yep, happy to be here for sure." And he was like, "Cool." Like, I mean, but I remember being like proud of myself because I played it somewhat cool. But also that's why I was like, don't ever just say you're just a songwriter. Like, God put you in this room for a reason. And probably because you're terrified and you don't have a phone now. But here you are. But no, and then like through Randy, I met Cliff Aldridge, who is still one of my forever friends. Like, I met I met so many amazing people that just by meeting him on a sidewalk, and that was when Nashville really was super small. It wasn't I would see Nicole Kidman at the bagel shop all the time. Like, people were just, I couldn't go a day without seeing someone I knew because it was just small and there wasn't traffic and it was beautiful, and the best place to hang out was the gravel parking lot across from Tin Roof. Um, I mean, that to me is what we mourn the most. Like that, it was just such a time. And the growth of Nashville has been incredible. But to be able to come here in 2008, before it was the cool city, I feel like there was a rawness and a vulnerability that it doesn't have now. Because if you were here, it's because you wanted to make music and really that was what you're going to do. It wasn't because influencers influenced you. It wasn't because some really awful TV show was on. Like, if anyone's like, "I moved to Nashville because I saw Nashville 911," I'm gonna be like, "God bless you, honey." Like, that is
That
not the representation of our city. No shade to anyone on the show. I love people that are on that show, but like the show, let's be honest. But yeah, it wasn't that. It was very much just an organic, fun, sacred time to be here. And I'm really, really thankful that it happened at that time.
Yeah. Wow. So much of that story is so
That was a very
powerful.
long ramble. I'm so
No,
sorry.
I love it. I love it. Please do not change ever. But what you were sharing of like this idea of I didn't know anybody. I needed to go to where I
The
heard
bar.
a meeting, the bar.
That bar.
I love here, like the bar, like
It was just like the whitest way to ever say that. Like just like the bar.
he's like, honey, you ain't never been in a bar before.
No, he was like, "Did you just come out of the convent? Like, what is wrong with you?"
But in so many ways, there's parallels to your story and like what we still hear as songwriters today, which is like, go find where the community is and like meet your people. But I like wish I had moved in an era more similar to what you're expressing, because like with the growth of Nashville, it has lost a lot of the community elements that I've heard made the songwriting
Yeah.
the songwriting city. And so like it's always interesting for me to hear from people who got to experience that, like just how natural it felt in a way, and how you were able to kind of meet these people, and like you will never find Jamie Johnson or Rascal Flatts or like or even the people now that were where they are then,
Mhm.
like you'll never find them around in Nashville, just like because, you know.
I mean, you might, but I feel like the approachability is different. And like, I feel bad for people that are moving here now because it's not just the community aspect of it. It's like this paradigm shift too. Because when I moved here, CDs were selling, downloads were happening, but you had to pay for them. Like things like that, like streaming hadn't kicked in yet, which makes me sound ancient. But it's true. Like, and so like we were all working towards something that if I got a number one, I could have $1 million. Not that I was doing it for the money, but it was achievable and it was attainable. And you could provide for your family once you hit it. And I think there's like a camaraderie that comes with that. And I always felt like that. I never felt like I was in competition. I always felt like it was a camaraderie thing and like always wanting each other to win. And I didn't have one camp. I had 12 camps because I was friends with someone from every lunch table. Like that's how I was in high school. That's how I am in adulthood. I don't have one solid group of best friends. I have best friends from all
Spread
different
around.
walks of life. And the people that have kind of come to Nashville post 2012, 2015, like that's when streaming took off. That's when all these things. So instead of, and I'm not trying to like jump ahead to things, but like instead of getting a pub deal being solely a songwriter, that shift of like, well, write the songs, track the songs, write with the artist, like that all hit four on the floor, like just going like lightning speed. And so your community aspect with that also changes as the city grows and everything becomes more expensive. And then the industry's popping off. And then streaming, and everyone's trying to adapt, but we're always two steps behind because it's going faster than our Nashville ways can catch up to. And it was a really strange, like, I feel like 2012 to 2019, everyone was just like, what's happening? And it
Yeah.
was kind of just like, oh, we couldn't catch our breath. And so to move here, and I've met so many people that moved here during this time, they're like, Nashville's awesome, but it's crazy. It's like, yeah, like if you were here when we had a sub stop, like in a Nashville where Chewy's is, like, come on, that was like the
Prime
best.
time.
And I hate it because I don't know how you all find that now. Like I did, I was asking someone recently, I was like, as a songwriter, like, where do you run into your people? Like, how do you not network necessarily, but how do you make friends as someone who's new to the area? And they're like, it's really weird out here. I'm like, it has to be. And it just makes my heart break. And I'm not one to necessarily live in the past, but I'm very glad I moved here when I did. And I respect the fire out of anyone that moves here now with the same kind of drive and ambition.
Yeah. And even in my, so I've been here almost 4 years. July will be 4 years. And I'm like, even in my 4 years, I've seen change. So just the speed at which things are happening seems to be on hyperdrive. But you mentioned something that what I was really excited to talk to you about today, which is like this idea of a pub deal. And like I know that they were, and maybe you can share more with me. I don't want to put words or set a tone here, but like, can you talk to us about what it was like in the time when you were moving to town, meeting your people, attending these weekly
Mhm.
events, and like how that either led or helped you find the path to getting your first publishing deal?
It I didn't really know anything about it. I'm definitely a leap before I look kind of person. I was like, oh, I'll just figure it out. And moving here, finding out like, oh, a publishing deal. Okay, they're a publisher. Well, someone told me you have to sign with a PRO. So I signed with BMI. And when I signed with BMI, they like Perry Howard and Leslie Roberts and Bradley Collins were there. And I met all of them and I thought they were all lovely. And next thing I know, like they're sending emails like, hey, meet with this publisher, meet with this person. This person's great. And I had publishing meetings. And then I got offered my first publishing deal within 7 months. Um, and I, this is going to sound awful, but it was like, oh, okay, like it's just like applying for a job. Like in my head, that's how I felt. Because that's, you move to town, you have a champion, set you up with some people, and then you're good to go. Like that is kind of how it felt. Because I was also 22, so like everything's new. And then I learned, like, I was like, okay, well, this is what a publisher does. They pitch your songs, they put you in the rooms with people. Okay, I know I want a really good team. Like, that's my hope. And so I met with a ton of several publishers. The first deal I signed actually ended up falling through, and BMI got me out of it. And from that, I started. I, again, it's one of those like forever optimist. I'm like, well, this sucks, but it happened for a reason. And so at that time, I was like, how can I stay relevant and meet more people where it's not just someone else's responsibility to get me in the door? Like, how do I get in my own doors? Because it is no one's job to make it for you. It's your job to make it for you. And if you have help along the way, good on you. But it's your responsibility, in my opinion. And so I started a show called Hits and Giggles, and it was 3 rounds of two. And so I would every month had a theme, and Bruce Wallace and I, who is one of my favorite humans, we would do introductions by roasting them. But it would be like same name night where it's like Anthony Smith's and Marty Dotson's. And then we did like bro night where, brothers and real deal in high heels where it's like these powerhouse women. And so every month we did a different theme, but we would match it to where it's like an up and coming writer with a hit writer. Because what I learned is even though I was able to connect with people, other people like I was talking to Alyssa Moreno and she had her Rascal Flatts hit and it's like, oh, have you met this person? No, what are they like? And I was just wanting to match them because for some reason I was very fortunate to fall forward to great people. And the more people I met, the more I realized that not everyone's experience was that way. So I wanted to make sure I was connecting people along the way while also still trying to help me get exposure and co-writes and things like that. And oh, she's funny. I'll write with her. What's the worst that can happen? And it really did open a lot of doors. And so I did that. And from one of the hits and giggles, it was the one with Eric Paslay and Levi Lowry. Leslie DePiro came to it and she was like, I've heard a lot about you. I'd love to meet with you. I was nervous because I loved her so much because flashback to seven, all of my favorite songs Bob pretty much wrote. Like Bob DePiro and Matresa Berg like wrote my childhood. And like I met with her. She said that her and Victoria Shaw were wanting to do a co-venture, but they hadn't found the right person yet. They thought I was the person. I don't know what came over me, but at the time I was like, I don't want to date you. I want to marry you. And like she got down on her knee in the middle of Music Row, and she was like, I don't know the details yet, but just marry me and I'll figure it out. I was like, okay. And then I signed, and that's what I consider my first pub deal. But I signed with her and Victoria Shaw, and um, it was to this day, I've had several pub deals, and no shade to any of them, but that was my favorite. Just because there's magic in that house, there's magic in those women. And I've also been a publisher, so I know the effort it takes to get people into rooms. And they never made it seem like work. They never made it seem like I got you in this room, so you better like show up. Like they did it like, hey, I put Jay Knowles on the books. He's a hit writer. I think you're gonna hit it off with him. Just go in with a really strong idea. Okay. Like those were the things that were happening. And I remember I met with Tom Luderin when Sony was EMI. And one of the most favorite things I've ever heard a publisher say, I was new, he heard my songs, he liked them, and he said, huh. And he put his feet up on his desk. He goes, you're good. I won't be your first pub deal, but I'll be your second. And at the time, I was like, what a lovely way to tell me no.
That's what I would think.
Right. And fast forward, he wasn't my second, he was my third. But it's those things that at the time you don't think hold weight, but there's a reason why. Because when it's your first deal, especially in that time, like you're also dealing with the goody two shoes girl who never really drank and like makes weird jokes when she's nervous and like socially awkward, but somehow kind of charming in a way of like people are like, I'm a little nervous when I'm around her and I'm not sure why. Yeah, but they just embraced it and like marketed it. So, but they put in a lot of work and I have like some of my most favorite lessons are from them. So yeah, that was my first deal and was there for a few years and loved it and loved them.
Wow. So much about that story. I love what you said about no one's going to get you in the room. Like you got to be the one helping to open doors as well. And you showcase that with starting your own round. And what a blessing to the people in your circle at that time, because like I don't know too many people that would be willing to say, I know this person, I know this person, let me help them meet each other. It's like maybe it might happen naturally when you're out, you'll kind of turn to your left and be like, oh, have you met so and so? And in a way it still happens, but like for you to put the energy and the power behind your words to say, no, let me help like connect these people in this community, I think that's so powerful. And like what a testament to like who you are as someone who's contributing to a community that you want to be a part of, you know?
I mean, because that's what had been done to me. Like the Bruce Wallaces, the Marty Dotson, the girl, Lisa Carver, Alyssa Moreno, like all of these people, Lisa Bolt, like meeting them and oh my gosh, you've got to meet so and so. Or like, Bradley Collins being like, hey, I met this new girl, Jenna LeMaster, you're gonna love her. Like that was always done to me. So why wouldn't I do that? And it makes a big town smaller. So then when you are able to go to Key West and you look around and if I don't know who you are, I've heard your name probably. Or, to be able to be like, oh my gosh, Paige was just telling me about you. Paige who? And then that connection. Or, Jill Moody played me one of your songs. That's why I always would tell writers, like, pay attention to who the writers and the co-writers are. Like, there's value to that. And if you care about the craft, care about who painted the painting. That way, when you see them, we are kind of like the behind the scenes. So when you see them and you're like, man, I love that song you wrote with Brandon Kinney. Which song? XYZ. Huh? How'd you hear that? Well, Ben played it in a round. Like, I mean, it's just attention to detail. And my brain was better at absorbing it then. So much now, but I also was obsessed with it because that's how I connected dots. And so I wanted to connect the people.
Yeah, and the full circle moment you were sharing of like, so growing up listening to music, reading the liner notes, seeing names that,
Mhm.
I think one thing that's really special about songwriting in particular is like, there doesn't have to be an end game. It's not, in the NFL, there's
Yes.
like 4 or 5 years and you're like, oh man, that guy's not
Mhm.
feeling that hot. So he's out. It's kind of like there can be as much of a life as you want there to be.
100%. That, and this goes into the validation thing that I know we'll get into, but when I came here, if you had a pub deal, people would write with you. And so that was your instant validation. All right, well, she's got a deal. She's with Sony. She's with this person. She's with there. All right, which I'm thankful for. But then when that goes away and that stigma, I I mean, it took a while to kick it before I was like, wait, okay, I got dropped by Sony on a Tuesday. On Thursday, why am I less of a writer in my head?
Mm.
I was the same writer. It's just a different day. And Sony paid my bills on Tuesday, and on Thursday, I'm paying my own, figuring it out. Like, selling stuff on Marketplace. Going back to Betty Boots for the fifth time, which I'm still on their employee roster. Um, things like that. And so that's where the validation thing is always front of mind for me because I see writers and when, my spiel, like, oh, do you want a publishing deal? Yep. Why? Well, I want to get paid to write songs. How much do you think you're going to make? Oh, well, I don't know. Do you know how much? And it's the same conversation. You'll make in between 18 to 45. My favorite pub deal, I made 18 grand. Like, it's not about the money. It's about where your champion is. If you are knocking down doors, that is my pet peeve. Like, I understand knocking down doors to get your songs heard, things like that. I understand. But if you're continuing to do it or if you're not doing it in a way that feels natural, why do you want to be somewhere you're not invited or wanted? And that's hard to freaking hear. But that's just like in life. If he ain't calling you back, why are you trying to get his attention? Go to where the person's like, gosh, I love your song. Man, I love that song that you wrote with Ryan. Oh my gosh, go to the person screaming your name and jumping up and down for you. Quit trying to chase the one that said, meh, you don't want to, meh. You want the person that, like, I will never forget coming home from a bar or going back to Tom Lee's. It was like Losers had closed. This was also when Losers was just Losers. And we all walked back. I was walking in my car and I heard one of my work tapes coming out of a car in the back of Love Monkey. And I was like, that's my song. Who's listening to my song in a parking lot right now? It's 2 in the morning. I walk over there and Alex Heddle is playing the song I wrote with Neil Mason on repeat. He loved the song. He was listening to it without us having to be like, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this. Like, because he knows a good song. But he also wouldn't be doing that if he didn't want to be. And he's a fan of songwriters and of us at that time. And it was, you go to him. You don't go to the one who you sent a song to 3 weeks ago and you haven't heard back. Like, and that's a whole TED talk in itself, sorry. But that's why I get really passionate about it when people are like, oh, I want a pub deal. Like, know what you want, know who you want. Because if you're just throwing darts, that's going to burn you out and that's going to burn people out on you to be meeting without purpose.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be recording this time around. Like, no, because literally we've had these conversations in the past, and I've heard you how passionate you are about this topic for, especially writers. Like, it used to be the holy grail, like get a publishing deal, the holy grail. To your point about the validation piece, and who knows? I was actually going to ask you, like, do you even think that is still the worthwhile effort? Is there something else that you think is better, for people's attention? But like, the part about you saying like go where you're wanted, I can't speak for all songwriters, but it sounds like from people I've heard the stories that have been able to successfully navigate the industry, it's like they were able to find a champion. And I feel like, at least for me, this is maybe a selfish comment, but like, how do you find champions? Because I feel like, right, or mentors or people to take you under their wing. Because like, maybe it is the fact that, haven't found the right place yet, or you haven't been introduced. But like, it doesn't seem like the PROs are working in that same way, or as accessible in the
Because
same
they
way.
don't right now. Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's accurate. And that's no shade to them. Like 2020 happened and their doors are physically locked. And that was not the case when I got here. And so that's where NSAI, I think, fills a huge gap. And that was one reason why I was really excited to go there, is because as a mediumly successful songwriter, I wanted to represent the people in the middle, the ones that weren't starting out. Because, in my opinion, if you're starting out songwriting, the internet is great for you. Figure it out. There are resources like join a PRO. The PRO alone has huge content libraries that can give you all the information you need as far as like getting started, how to plug in. YouTube is great. Podcasts are great to listen to and to research. But for the ones who kind of know what they're doing, like, like in the thick of it,
Hmm.
we 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 have an idea, we know where we want to be, but we're not there yet. We want to write up, but we don't know how to necessarily get to the uprighter. Like, and we're in the middle. And I really want to go to NSAI and help the middle. Like, hit writers are great. I love hit writers. My friends are hit writers. They're fine. They're
Hmm.
represented. They're doing all the things. The people starting out, you have the internet, you have resources. It's us in the middle where it's like, okay, I want to grow in my craft. I want to figure out what I want. You don't even have to necessarily know what you want, but if you want to figure it out, how can we help them if the PROs aren't doing what they used to do for me and for so many people that I love? And it broke my heart, but also I understand as things evolve, like, so PROs are a bank and they're a resource and they do help songwriters in multitude of facets, but really that one-on-one launch point isn't one of them anymore. So that's where NSAI I feel like comes in really strong because you meet like-minded people, you can find your camp, and when people are like, I want to write with hit writers, why? I want a hit song. Okay, if you write with Jeffrey Steele tomorrow, is that song going to be the hit? It very well could be, but you're not coming up with Jeffrey Steele. You're coming up with your camp. And let me tell you, the one that you think won't make it probably will. And that'll be the one that launches all of you. So, not to be like, don't use people, but the people you naturally connect with and write with, those are your people. Like Amy Benton is one of my very best friends. Logan Mize, what like kept saying, you got to meet this girl named Amy. You all are exactly alike. You look like sisters. I'm like, okay. One night on his front porch in Leaper's Fork, there she was, and she was singing a song called Kentucky Plates. And I have not always been as outspoken as I am now. And she played this song, and I loved her voice, and her, like, the way she plays guitar is very unique, and I love everything about her. But it got to that last, like, hidden third verse, and she killed everybody off. And I was just like, no, no. And she laughed because I guess no one had aggressively been like, no. We just like hit it off instantly. And that happened because someone kept saying, I know someone like you. Like Michelle Branch when she joined the Wreckers. It's because so many people were like, you and Jessica Harper are very similar. So be open to those connections and don't be like, "Oh, well, there's someone like me." Love them, get to know them, get to be you in an elevated version because you're with someone who gives you you and you give them them. And that is how you build your camp. You just find your people, and it's hard, especially now. But I always tell people it's like the spider theory, spider web. If your songs with a baby of two influences, who would they be? Who do you want a cut with? What song do you hear that you're like, I could have written that? Or like, that sounds like a me song. But basically, it's an elevator pitch.
Hmm.
If I am someone in the music industry and I'm like, oh, cool, you're a songwriter. What kind of songs you write? Oh, rock, woo. Like mine, my literal go-to was always Leanne Womack track 13s. And then
Ooh.
they're like, what? And I'm like, yep, that's if I like my happy hippie songs. But if I'm writing what I want to write, it's a Leanne Womack track 13 or a little Big Town 11 or a Dirk Bentley 8. And it was like they instantly knew what that meant because it's your Kenny Chesney Target exclusive cut. Like
Hmm.
when I aimed for medium success, that is what I got. Because that is where I love to write. I don't say that as like a slight to anybody, but like I love an album cut. Like
Yeah.
I can write a single, but I love an album cut. And so with you, I would encourage you to like think on that, like nail it down because it also helps in demo sessions. Like
Mm.
being in a demo session and saying, I would love this to sound like a Dirk Bentley track 8, kind of a rootsy. And the more you're, because the songwriters would communicate, so the better you're able to articulate what your sound is, the better. The studio musicians can meet you where you want them to be on the first pass, which will blow your mind. And then you're like, oh God, that's what I heard internally.
Yeah.
And it's like they're the interpreters, but you have to be able to communicate that in a way that they speak
Yeah.
and interpret it. I don't know why I got off on that tangent. Oh, the spider web. So, like, say, let's just say Ella Langley for hits and gigs. So you have that. So, okay, Ella Langley's camp. This is her label. This is who she writes with. Here's every co-writer on her album. Okay, great. Follow them on socials. Oh, she did this with Brent Cobb. Brent Cobb is at Carnival. Okay, well, actually, they're doing a thing at Bobby's Idol Hour where it's Brent Cobb, Adam Hood, all these people. Go to it. And then when you're there, you're automatically in a room of people that like your style of music, that you respect, that you can name their songs, and that you're all like-minded because you're there. Instead of throwing 88 darts and being like, there's 18 rounds, I need to go to them tonight. Why? If those aren't your people, why are you doing it? Unless you just want to go and have fun and like see or experience something new, which go do that. But if you're trying to go out strategically, especially when you have jobs and responsibilities, be strategic. I would much rather you be strategic going out in a space where you're like, okay, if this is my pyramid and I know I would fit in great with these people, go do your spider chart, figure out where they're going, and go to that event. And that's going to be way more fruitful and enjoyable and inspiring than going to 18 different events that you kind of don't care about.
I feel like you answered a question I didn't ask, which is like, I've
Probably.
no, 100%. And like, because what you were saying around like, we all have time commitments, whether it's jobs or you already have co-writes or podcasts or whatever. It's like, okay, I still want to go out. I want to connect, but I want to connect in a fruitful way. And
Mhm.
I love your approach of like make it targeted. It's funny. There's a writer out of LA. I think I've realized I like pop music. I
I
like love country, but like
welcome to your own party, Paige. Yes, you've That's why when you're like, okay, Taylor Swift and rock and Rob Thomas, which all about, but I'm also like, Paige, you love some pop. Like you have very
I love
like,
pop music.
yeah.
It's what I grew up on, and like
Mhm,
there's a writer in town, like whenever we write it's always pop, and like I
mhm.
love it. And there's this girl out of LA, her name is Jules, and I every time I heard a song on TikTok, I'd look at the writers and this girl's name kept popping up, and I'm like, I like her, like I'm a fan of her, like
Mhm.
she is a common thread amongst all these songs. I love
There
the
you go.
artists and the other people. And I followed her on Instagram, and one of the guy's songs, he was playing a show here in Nashville, and I went to it. It was at the end right off of
Yes.
Elliston Place.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting there, and Jules walks by, and she lives in LA, I'm pretty sure. And I'm like, is that her? And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, should I say anything? Should I say anything? And finally I'm like, I'm just gonna ask her. So I went up, I'm like, is your name Jules by chance? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, I am the biggest fan. I wasn't that nerdy, but I was like, I'm such a fan. Like, you are a writer on some of my favorite songs that I've come across this year, and I love your work. And like, we connected on Instagram, which is really cool. But like, yeah, I think you're right. You got to like looking up the writers, you start to see common names, and then you get to know who you kind of like.
Yes, and that you just proved the thing 100%. Because that is what I wish I would have told myself in my 20s. Because I was going out all the time and not strategically going out because I didn't want to be home alone. And because I was just like, I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna go do that. Had a blast, made a lot of friends, heard a lot of really cool songs. I did discover some people that I never otherwise would have found, but I was tired and I burnt myself out. And I wish I would have done more with less. I wish I
Yeah.
would have been able to look at that and been like, man, I love Lori McKenna. And I love, like Lisa Carver, yes, I was always at her stuff. But like the going out to where it was that, if it was like, well, okay, Lori's writing with Luke Laird. Love Luke, wrote with him. He just has this song on Casey Musgraves. Before Casey Mus, I heard so many people be like, "Have you heard Casey Musgraves? Like that, like your happy hippie stuff." Because I loved Pistol Annies. I was laser focused on Pistol Annies. Like I was like, they three of the titles I had were on one of their albums, and I was like, this is a sign. Like I was not the one that was like, my titles are gone. No, I was like, yes, this
I'm
is
thinking in the
further
same
proof.
lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget writing with Jacob Powell one day, and he was like, Flynn, I got an idea. Hell on Heels. And I was like, have you heard the Pistol Annies? Like, because someone had just shared it with me and it wasn't out yet. And then I played it for him and he was like, oh, that sounds really good. I was like, yeah. But yeah, go to the people that you're like, if you're naturally drawn to people, you're naturally drawn to pop, you're naturally drawn to certain people on Instagram that you just not like connect with. There is a reason. And I loved Lisa Carver and Bobby Pinson before I moved to town. I swore I wasn't going to meet them because like I was obsessed with their MySpace. I listened to their stuff all the time and I loved them. And I'd gone to a few of Carver's rounds, never said hi to her. Then through Hauser and Jamie Johnson, I met Bobby Pinson, loved him, and I remember being so nervous when I met him. And he was he said we were in Key West, and he's like, "You've been on this island for 2 days, and we keep seeing each other, and you haven't said hi. Why are you rude?" And I said, "I'm not rude. I'm just a big fan." And he goes, "Fan? What song of mine's your favorite?" And I said, "Off which album?" And he went, "Oh." Like we were just because he had multiple albums, but he came to Bowling Green and I didn't want to go in a bar, and so they had speakers on the outside, and I sat in the parking lot and listened to his entire show. And I told him that, and he's like, "Why didn't you come in?" I was like, "Because I didn't want to be in a bar." Clearly, I got over that, but then when I met him at his birthday party, Carver shows up. And she was like, I keep seeing you around everybody. Tell me about you. We closed down Losers at 4 a.m. and we have been inseparable since then. And that was 17 years ago. Like I fly, like she comes here, I fly to Taos every year. Like, and she's one of my soul people. But there's a reason you were connected to those people. There's a reason you play that song over and over again. Look at the writers because they deserve to know who their people are just as much as you do.
I feel like I needed to hear that. I think people listening that I know listen to the show needed to hear that because to your point about like the middle ground of, okay, I'm not a novice, I'm not a hobbyist. Like I'm treating
Mhm.
this like a career that I'm investing in because I'm passionate about it, but I'm not signed, I'm not a pro, I'm not, on that level. And there's this like middle ground, this like lake, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, where do you go and how do you navigate this lake? Because everyone's gotten out of the pond a different way. Every
Mhm.
one person had a boat, one guy had a ladder, one guy got picked
Yes.
up by helicopter. It's like, okay, amazing, but like I'm still in the pool kind of thing. I just
Hmm.
said water references in
No,
so
and
many
because
different
I always
ways.
say rowing the boat. I'm like, everybody's rowing the boat. So no, that tracks. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And when it comes to publishing deals, going back to you go where your champion is, but also when I signed my publishing deal, one songwriter had like seven people in their corner. Like I had a plugger, I had an intern, I had two publishers, I had an investor who was with the publishers. Like you have this team of people who just want to see you succeed because you're their investment. No matter how small financially that may be or not, you're still an investment. And a lot of times people don't know that about pub deals either. Like that's technically a loan, you have to pay it back. Won't bore them with that now. Google it. Um, there are resources. But yeah, you didn't, I didn't have those resources. So, like, you had those people, but now you can do everything on your own. And, like, I just talked to a Berkeley class and I went on this tangent about T-Pain because, long story short, T-Pain's label forgot that they had told him they had released the album. He asked when the release date was, and they were like, "For what?" And he was like, "Cool. how much is it for me to buy myself out of this contract? Again, this might be one of the things I'm only getting like two-thirds correct, but so don't quote me. But he basically bought himself out of his contract, and within that year, not only paid himself back, but like quadrupled whatever it is because he owned everything. And Ed Sheeran just went independent. Like, I have nothing against publishing deals. I love publishers. I would still sign a publishing deal today if it was the right one and I had a champion for it. The thing I won't do is sign it for the sake of signing it. Because if you build a house with your connections, your materials, your resources, and someone who has a nicer house comes along and says, I like that, I'll buy it for you for 50 grand, and you've put your lifetime in it, why would you give that up for someone who just finally offered you some money for it? Like, it is, that's what I think has cheapened a little bit, especially like with streaming and things like that. There's still the stigma of a publishing deal, but get a publishing deal with the right person. Because if you're just signing it to sign it, to say you had one, then you're giving away so much for no reward. Because even though I didn't make a ton of money at my first pub deal, I made a ton of connections. I wrote a ton of songs. I learned a lot. I got to go to Seaside and spend like a week with people that felt like family. And if you've never been loved by Italians, it's the sweetest thing and the most overwhelming thing in the world. Like Leslie and Bob just hugging me in the kitchen. And like, I got that. And I can still have that. And I talked to Leslie last week, like we're still connected and we will be. That to me far outweighed money. It was a great pub deal. It was a great experience. And so for people to just sign it without having that person that gets them, there's no point in it, especially when you have all the tools to do it on your own. And there's so much more money to be made if you're doing it for money. And it's okay to also do it a little bit for money.
Yeah. Just because, like, to financially stay here, you have to pay a bill. And, like, I know everyone comes from a different background. Like, maybe you have some family help or whatever, but it's like, for someone in my category, like, I have a job that pays the bills, which allows me to stay to do the thing. And so, it's a good point. I think there's like some mystery still around like the financial piece, like how do you even? And I know that's not the point of today's convo, but it feels good to hear from someone who has been down the publishing deal route to say like if it's worth it and it's a good fit, you don't have to turn your nose up to it, but it's not the
Yeah.
only way to go.
Right. It's not your only option because and that's, thank you for reminding me for that because I think that's where I don't hit home. It's not your only option. Like, when people view it as that, or when they're like, well, I have to get a pub deal or I'm not going to make it. Well, why? You literally have everything. You can put out music on your own. You can, upload your own artwork. You can make it. You can demo it. You can literally put out a work tape and put it on Spotify and iTunes and whatever other streaming platform. And so if you're saying you can't write songs without having someone pay you to do that, you're wrong. Because if you're going to write songs, you're going to write songs whether you get paid to do them or not. Because who you are on Tuesday is exactly who you are on Thursday. The paycheck just gets signed differently. And that took a really long time to sink in.
It's a
And
bar right there. That's a bar.
that's true. And I mean, Marty Dotson, the girl, can tell you, like, I did not leave my house. I was heartbroken. Because I'd been through it and I was just in the thick of it. And it was when she came over, she came over, and which is also ironic, I think, because she did not call. She just showed up. And she had some cookies and she didn't even really say anything. She just hugged me and she sat on the couch with me. And while she was sitting there, Shark Tank came on. And like, I'm gonna get emotional. Shark Tank came on and I'm watching it. And like, it was literally like God turned a light switch on. And I sat up and I went, Marty, if we had all of our songs in a suitcase and we went in front of four sharks on national TV and we said, here's my life's work, would one of them say, okay, I'm going to give you $25,000 for it. I'm going to own 100% of it 50% is available on recoup. This is a loan. You get no health insurance, no benefits, and we don't take taxes out. But I will get you opportunities. You get to say you have a pub deal. And, if I find two artists that will settle for 12 grand in 2 years, I'll sign them and drop you. No one would do that, let alone and that's no shade to publishing deals. It's just a weird business dichotomy. And so I was like, and that's when I remember I looked at her, I was like, how do we change that? She was like, I do not know. And it wasn't long after she lost her pub deal then. And so then I was going to pub deal meetings and I was playing her songs and Bruce Wallace's songs. And I remember one time Blaine Rhodes, he was like, this is, or he had listened to a couple of my songs. I love him. He's such a great man, such a great song person. Just beautiful, beautiful soul. But we were in the meeting. We had listened to my songs. He's like, got anything else? Play me something else. So I played him one of Marty's songs. He goes, who'd you write that with? I went, oh, Marty, Jane wrote that by herself. And he goes, why are you playing it for me? I said, because it's a really good song. And I said, and she's better than I am. So if you got one on your roster, she'd be the one I'd get. And he was like, you are on the wrong side of the disc. And because of his confidence is what made me, when I got offered to be director of creative at Wide Open, I was like just delusional enough because Blaine had told me that and a couple other people. I was like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Again, the belief of other people who are valid telling you, I get the validation thing, but I don't want someone to build a life waiting for it and it not coming, thinking they can't do it on their own.
What do you think was different when you were sitting on the other side of the table? Like, were there things about the business or the industry that you could recognize or like sympathize a little more from the business side? Did it make it different for you as a songwriter, learning kind of the more intricacies of the industry side?
It made me take things not so personal. Because as just the creator of the songs, boy, did I feel everything just like I did as a teenager listening to Patti Loveless. Um, being on that side of it and having to look at financials, having to look at the breakdown of it. I don't like looking at people like numbers. I always thought I would never do that. But then I start to see, okay, well, I'm paying her 30 grand a year, which Georgia artists are really hot right now. And there's these two that are pretty good that I could sign at 15 grand each. They sing, they play out, they're both doing the artist thing. I'm comparing myself, by the way, to the two people that swooped in, and I have no hard feelings towards that because that was a smart business decision. And as someone who is solely a songwriter, why not sign someone else who plays the guitar, makes their own tracks, has a great social media following for being authentically themselves versus me, who ever since I got a dog, I love to hermit and uh, I will send memes, but I don't care about posting really anymore. So, I mean, there's value in that from a business standpoint. So I don't take any of that personal. It's hard to be on the other side of it and look at it that way because I get it. Um, but kind of seeing the inside baseball makes you quite a bit more compassionate for the people who run the show.
Wow.
But yeah, and I love that experience. Loved it because it showed me that I have zero problem helping people more than helping myself as far as like songwriting. And I think it's good to know what you're good at. It's good to know what you're not good at. And I've had this conversation with you. I've had this conversation with several people when they're like, well, I like business, but I also like the songwriting side. How do I choose? Put yourself in both positions. Who are you more jealous of? Or if you like the business side of it, are you going to be able to book, you know, Rivers Rutherford and Casey Beathard with this up and coming person who may or may not be as good as you are as a writer and not be like that son of a biscuit? Or are you going to be the writer looking at the business person going, oh, well, I'm glad they bought a house. I'm glad they can pay their bills. I'm glad their parents don't hound them at Christmas. You know what I mean? So you got to pick which side makes you more jealous of who. And you have to pick the one or or not, but I always feel like it's better to pick the one that doesn't tick you off because or that you can overcome. I love the business side of it and I love the creative side of it. Thank God I have found jobs that do both without having to be a super successful songwriter or producer in order to do both. Um, I'm very fortunate, but those experiences are more than they ever were when I got here. So that's a win for your people, for
Yeah.
the late bloomers to Nashville, because when I was here, you couldn't do both without being a hit writer. Like Frank Rogers is one of my mentors, and I am still, I think, his kids' emergency contact. Like him uh, and his wife Jessica are just my brother and sister in this town. They're part of the reason I never went back home. And he's a great producer and a great publisher and a great writer, and he's massively successful at all three. So like I would look at that and be like, okay, well, how do I do that as someone who's mediumly successful at all three? Like, or
Yeah.
not producing, but mediumly successful at two. Um, so I mean, but now it's like you're encouraged to do more than one thing, which I
Yeah.
think is beautiful, and that's where I like to see the gumption, and I think the kids call it audacity, these days of the up and comers and of the middle crew, because it's like, all right, how bad do you want it? Like, what all are you doing for you, with the resources and platforms you have? So it's been really cool to see, and I do get inspired by that. That gets me excited for you all for sure.
Yeah. And the accessibility is just different in today's age. Like the bedroom producer didn't
Mhm.
exist, back then. The reason you needed the pub deal was to get the financing to be able to rent the studio and pay the musicians to make your demo tapes.
Yep.
Um, which is kind of crazy. And, if anything, your story, it just kind of got me thinking like when you look at the bigger writers, at least in my mind today, which are like the Shane McAnallys and,
Mhm.
the Hardys, and like they all started their own pub deal. Like they're their own publisher. So
Mhm.
like clearly even at that level there is still a business divide between like it's it can't be everything even if you're the top of the class, like it can't be everything for you with a deal. So even they're having to learn to navigate it on their own. Granted, they might have more money and more help, but
Yeah, it's your launching point. I feel like if you want a deal, use that as your launching point, but know what you want. Don't just sign a deal. Like, know who's in your corner. If you don't have anyone in your corner, work like crazy until you find someone that keeps showing up. And that would be my greatest advice. Like, if you sign it, make sure you sign with your champion. And that is, yeah, that is my be all of a deal. Like, I think there's good and there's bad, but I think if you want to do it independently, I feel like that stigma is being released more, especially as like people expose pay stubs and like touring and all of that when they're like, here's the touring breakdown sheet, here's this. Like, people are exposing it so that fans, I also think that's why there's been such a resurgence of passion for songwriters because like even booking songwriters with my job I have now, it's like people love songwriters because it's like they've gotten to see the man behind the curtain and now they want like they don't care that you can't sing. Sing me that song. I want to hear that. Tell me that story. What was the room like that day? Make me feel like I was in that room. But they feel like it's like buying organic. They're like, this is lovely, and I can have fast food all day long. But like songwriters are like the nice meal that give you the behind the scenes, and you feel like you're included, and it feels healthy, and it feels like a niche that you're just getting to have on your own. And they feel like they're helping, and they are, by being fans of the songwriters. That's why I love the Key West Songwriter Festival and different songwriter trips and things like that, where people really show out. And it's because they want to feel a part of that. And that to me is awesome because they're not just buying tickets to go see a concert, they're buying tickets to come see the people who wrote the people having the concert. So there's definitely a win. Again, delusional optimism, but there's ways you can do it. I'm not for excuses, and I'm not for someone waiting for someone else to make it for them.
Oh my gosh, recently to your point about like the love of the songwriter, I posted a video and of a songwriter I got to see play, a Casey Musgraves song, and one of the comments on the video was like, I love hearing the songwriters perform it because that's the way it's meant to be written. Like, I'm paraphrasing the comment, but basically the comment was like, I love seeing when the songwriter plays it because that's how it was like written. And I'm like, yeah, it's like the organic form, the most
Hmm.
raw version of it.
Yeah. One of the greatest Nashville Music Row moments of my entire life. I did a whiskey jam. Word was like, yeah, make it a Flintucky night. I mean, I've played a few of them. I've either done great or I've bombed horribly. Uh, but this one was a great one. And I just decided I knew I wanted to have a big one and then just be like, okay, I'm aging out of this for a minute. And one of the people in the lineup was Stephanie Smith. And this is when Whiskey Jam was still at Winners, and it became like it was on the cusp of the Bachelorette era. So like every Whiskey Jam I had played before, packed with music industry people who I know and love, and they're cheering us on, they're listening to the songs, and it's great. Everyone was killing it. I get up there, and the girl in the front row was like, "Will you take a picture?" And I was like, "Oh, that's so cute." So I went to do this, and she's like, "No, of me and my girlfriends." And I was like, and then I was mortified, and then like that made me like forget all of the words of any song ever. But anyway, after me. So Stephanie Smith was there. And it is a bachelorette crew. It is not a Music Row crew. Like there's a few of our people there, but it is heavy tourist. And all of a sudden, like she sings FUM in Paris, which is great. And then she goes into the dancing in the dark, middle of the night. And this packed freaking bar of tourists starts looking like, what? Holding you tight, emotional touch, what? And like they just shut up. She goes into, I'm getting goosebumps. She goes into It's Your Love. Everyone's like erupts with cheers when it hits to the chorus, and they're all singing it as loud as she could. She has tears in her face, her glasses fall down. She just like finishes out the song with everyone screaming at the top of their lungs. And I look over at Ward Gunther, and we are both like, oh, like this is one of the coolest moments because those people didn't know the people played, and like Frank Rogers played that night, and I told Jess, I was like, you would have thought he was Luke Bryan. Like he got up there and was like, he never plays out really, and so like they were just eating it up because they were like they thought it was cover songs until they realized Ward kept saying these people wrote these songs, these people wrote these songs, and that connection, like they all left feeling like they experienced something super special because they did, but also to see that on Stephanie's face of like, okay. And like Frank, who basically could have crowd surfed his way out the front door. Like it was wild to see, and it was mutually beneficial, I think, but it was a really, really cool moment of connecting with the songwriter on stage and being like, I would have never known that person wrote that song, you know? So,
That's so special, and like what a cool way to see that play out in real life, like people celebrating the songwriter. And I know I also want to touch on very briefly like your work now with EVA Entertainment, and what was that transition like going from NSAI to now working directly with either creatives themselves or the teams of the creatives.
it was wild. So I've been on Eva as a platform. It came about like 10 years ago. Channing, Moreland, and McKinsey, they created this basically app where they were connecting event planners with talent because sometimes there's a disconnect there. Like they speak corporate, we speak us. And so being able to kind of create a platform and an app where they could be the middleman and keep everything super transparent. Because also like with a growing town, people get led astray with booking fees or, fake managers or whatever. And so anyway, I got signed on there. Aaron Sayre found me at a Heels and Handshakes event and asked me to MC something. I got on the platform and I remember getting on the platform and being this like this verbiage is written towards creatives. Like it doesn't talk under, it doesn't talk over. It's like, hey, the booking fee is transparent. It's 10%. Here's the all of it was very upfront. And I thought it was so cool. And then fast forward, I'm at NSAI. I love it. I love Jill. I think we're doing a great thing. I'd been there a little almost 3 years. Love the writers. But I was starting to feel that shift of I'm feeling like a hypocrite because I'm telling people that they can have a daytime job and write songs. And people would be like, when do you write? And I didn't want to be like, I sit in traffic and I eat Taco Bell and I don't have the radio on because my brain is toast. Because I'm one of those, I'll leave it on the field. Like I will play hard and I champion, but then it's like I get home, I'm like, oh, and I loved every minute of that. But it was taking a toll because I wasn't, came to a point where it was like, okay, I think I've carried the ball as far as I can here. With that, Eva, who never hires anyone, happened um, to have a position. It was offered. I was like, yeah, let's figure that out. And it has been the most unbelievable, loud answered prayer. Because my friend Amy, again, who I wrote with that I met on Logan Mize's front porch, um, when I felt that tug at NSAI and I was like, I really want to keep a job for 5 years. Like, I want stability, but I just keep feeling pulled to something else and I don't know what it is. And I'm almost 40 and I did not think I'd be doing this thing again. And she said, because sometimes she prays with me she prays with me anytime I want to, but sometimes she'd pray with me in the car. And she's like, I've noticed when you pray, you don't ask God specifically for what you want. You just thank him, which is great. But have you tried asking God for what you want? And I was like, no, why would I do that? Uh, and so that stuck with me. And then the day kind of after she had said that, I was driving to work and I was like, okay, God, if we play a game, if I could have anything I want, and it felt so uncomfortable, but I was like, I want a job where I work remotely, where I can spend time with my aging dogs and parents and life, where I can be creative, where I can advocate for creatives, because that's a big part of what I like to do, where I can fix things and wear what I want and be who I am and still write songs. Um, and I forgot, there was something really quirky about it too, and I can't remember what it was, but I just said that. And then I was like, okay, thanks for letting me be selfish. Literally, the 2 days later, they're like, hey, there's a position. And I was like, well, what would my day to day look like? And they're like, well, it's fully remote. Like, you can come in offices on Tuesday if you'd like to. Okay, but is it my Slack has to be open all the time? Or no? I mean, they're a really bare bones crew. So it's like, if you're not doing your job, it's pretty obvious. So, no, just do it. Well, what would my schedule look like? Whenever your creative times hit you to work the best. This feels like a trap. It's just it was the wildest thing. And I will say that I started and I probably did not calm down for 7 months because it was acclimating to that, okay, where is the shoe gonna fall? Anyway, but I get to, we have talent and then we have our corporate event planners. And so that's the app. And we're nationwide now, but everything from name act talent to up and comers to we have Guinness World Record holders for flame throwing and it's activations and it's everything. But it's the coolest thing to get to see all of these people making money, making good money with their talent in a way that is appreciated and celebrated. And I literally freak out every day. We have a group called the Magi, full circle, Damien Horn is in it. And went to go see them and I know they're awesome, but live I was like, holy crap, they do all these insane mashups. And I mean, getting to see them play corporate events. Like that, the old me would have been like, oh, they have to play a corporate event. Corporate people have money. They're like the only people left that have money. Like, yes, pay my friends a bunch of money to do what they love to do. Whether that is like balancing on a ball at the NBA halftime show, which Grace Good does, and she's fantastic. She's insane. She's the one that has the Guinness World Records. Or, like Andrew Hoyt, who is a coordinator at NSAI, like getting him booked for things. Like, I love getting to go to bat for the people who love what they do and need to make money doing it and need exposure. So yeah,
Wow.
that's what I do there.
What a powerful combination and like yeah, like what a great intersection between what you do well and like a way to bring that to life. And it sounds like it was a role that was meant just for you at the right time, which is so special. Which kind of leads me into my next question. Are you writing much these days?
Um, Truth be told, I just started back again. It scared me. What got me back into it, because I also felt a lot of pressure because a lot of people would like my song feedbacks. And so I was listening to a lot and giving song feedback. And what I didn't realize as a side effect of that, if I started writing, I would hear my own feedback. And just like when you're on stage, you don't want to hear your own feedback. You just, and so I like drowned in myself from it. So it's all my fault. But that burnt me out on it a little bit. I love hearing songs. I love listening to songs. I love when people send me songs. But getting rid of that lens took a while. And what got me back on it was I made a goal to every day write a jingle of some sort, like when I was walking the dogs. And then from that, it became oh, I actually like the line out of that. Oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do that. So, yes. So back to writing and not doing it. And there's such a freedom and like do, I always say your schedule A are usually your best songs because that's what you write when no one's opinion matters. And I feel like getting back to that where like, oh, this is fun. Like if someone hears it, great. If someone doesn't, great. Like I just do it because God gave me that to use. And if I'm not using it, what am I doing? And so I made it more of a fun, grateful exercise. And then getting to co-write again back with my people and not just co-writing for the sake of co-writing, but co-writing because I know that's my tribe and I've missed them.
Amazing. Are there any songs on repeat for you lately? Anything you I like yeah, I feel like you have the best recommendations. So I'm like, please let me know if there's a song on repeat.
Ugh, I am a diehard Charlie Worsham fan, like through and through. Love Charlie Worsham. He can do no wrong. He is the Vince Gill of our time. He's talented and nice, but he put out a new song called Grass, and there's a lot of really cool plays on words that are subtle in it that I really like. Also been listening to May Estes. I love what she's put out. I love what she hasn't put out that she's let me listen to. Her and Ashlyn Craft when they did Yard Sale. I thought Yard Sale was cute and quirky, and I love those songs. But May's got she's got some good ones in the pipeline. Um, been doing a lot of that. And then Josiah and the Bonniefills. He just put out his new one. I haven't got to listen to the full thing, but what I've listened to, I love. I'm like, oh, he's so good. He's so good.
I'm
He's
so
just someone you
excited.
always want him to win.
I'm excited to dig into them. I feel like I need to create a playlist like all the recommendations from all the guests. I think that'd be really fun. I feel like I should do that.
You should absolutely do that. I mentioned today Wade, he's one of our advisors, and he's a blast. I mentioned to him the trend. This was like in 2022, where artists were filming themselves for the first time reading the names of playlists that their songs were on.
Oh, yeah.
I laughed so hard. I think that's one of the funniest things. So I was like, I need to be better about naming playlists. But you should absolutely have a Pages So Rude podcast playlist
I
for
think I
alliteration
should.
alone.
I can't give it up, you know?
Yeah. What song have you been listening to on repeat?
Oh gosh, recently. Oh, okay, there is this Irish guy I found on TikTok. I hate to say it, but like TikTok, that's where I'm finding my stuff
Well, I hate to
recently.
say it. He's doing his thing.
Yeah, he's doing his thing and King Fisher is the artist name and and it's spelled like fish, Fishr. So it's like there's no E in the Fisher. So
Okay.
Kingfisher, one word.
I'm
And
writing
there's
it
a
down.
song called The Sun Will Never Settle. And it is like an Irish, I don't even know how to describe it, but it just hit me when I was scrolling and I listened to it and I waited for it to come out, which, never happens.
Hmm.
And it came out, I think, yesterday, and it's just been on repeat for me.
That reminds me, I saved a song to look up and I didn't today. So I need to because I heard it last night when I was scrolling. I'm not on the TikTok, I'm still on the Instagram, like a little mini boomer.
It all starts on TikTok and gets to
I know.
Instagram and then Facebook.
Well, Jill and Jay, they will like if they see something on TikTok, they'll screen record it and send it to me, and that always feels like such a love language because I'm like, you really wanted me to see this. And then it never fails 2 weeks later. I'm like, I saw that video you sent me on Instagram.
Oh my gosh.
It's the carrier pigeon of social media. But yeah, that reminds me I need to check it out because his was really, really cool too. I was like, ooh, I haven't heard something like that in a minute.
That's really cool. Also, Ashley McBride just released I don't know if it's an EP or an album, but the last song on it, 10 to Midnight, I really liked that one.
Ooh. I need to check that one out too because Carver has a song on it, and just the title alone of "The Bottle Told Me So."
Yeah.
See, I love one of those. Like people get mad sometimes. We're like, "Why didn't I think of that?" I'm like, "Ah, that I didn't think of that. That's great." Like, because there's nothing worse than hearing something clever, and this is where I got this from Carver. Because like, if we heard a song and we didn't like it, she'd be like, "Phew, could have been a great co-write." Like just being funny. But it's one of those like I love seeing something I hadn't thought of and hearing them nail it. Because
Hmm.
when you hear something you haven't thought of and they did not nail it, and then you're just like, oh,
What a waste.
what a waste. Oh
Yeah.
no. And like that will haunt me. There's still a hook that I heard that they did not do justice, and I will on a nice rainy day, I'll be like,
Break it out.
they really cut it short. Like, just like
I feel like we're like, construction guys that will like my dad and my brother are very handy. So they'll be like, they should have done this and they should have done that. I feel like that is a songwriter. Like, oh, what a missed opportunity to do this?
yeah. Riley Green has a hilarious video of when I Wish Grandpa's Never Died came out.
Yeah.
He's like, everybody's on the Instagram being like, if every road was named Copperhead, you'd be turning in circles. He's like, well, I don't care. I will tell you this. I love that song. I think Riley's great. They could have beat that. Like you don't like
And I know you care about this because this is not the first time I've heard you say
yes, and
this.
it's like, the road to home was named Copperhead, like literally the most minute edit. And I'm not perfect, obviously. I know this. I will listen to old demos of mine and be like, God, that first line sucks. Like I totally could have beat that. Well, guess what? We're creators. We can add more paint to the canvas if we want to. But anyway, I'm a broken record, rinse and repeat.
I love it.
All of my one-liners.
It's amazing. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on the So Rude podcast. I am so happy to have had you here on the show.
To call it so rude, you're so nice. And you're giving Dak Shepard and Theo Von a run for their money, and I'm here for it.
That truly means a ton. And I know it's the wrong name. Everyone's always like, "Do I gotta be rude to you?" I'm like, no. They're like, I'm like, it's the last name. I couldn't let it go.
As you shouldn't let it go. But also, yeah, there might need to be like a fun activity you add to it to play into the so rude. Like, what lyric do you think is so rude, like that they didn't beat? And everyone's going to be like, if every road was named Copperhead.
I love it. I'm using it. That's a clip right there.
Do not at me.
I'm adding you and Riley Green. Um, well, Amanda, every time I have a guest on the show, I always close with one final question, which is, what is one thing you would tell your younger self?
Whew. Keep praying and tell them what you want. You might not always get it, but at least tell them what you want.
Well, if people are interested in following along with your story, if they haven't already met you before, where can they find you online?
I am at Flintucky on the Insta. and really not on anything else. I don't update my Facebook. I only go there for Marketplace. The only TikTok I get is from Jill and Jay, and I'm really bad at checking my personal email. So if you really want me, slide into the Instagram.
Well, Amanda's Instagram is going to be tagged below. And if this is your first time tuning into the So Rude podcast, you can follow along on Instagram or TikTok at sorude.podcast. It's your support of the show, which allows me to bring on the fantastic guests who are just so gracious with their time and their willingness to share their stories and their advice. Like, I'm so happy this was recorded so I can go back and listen to it as a fan because there are so many gems, especially as songwriters in town or creatives looking to pursue their passions. So make sure you follow along to the show. You can also find us on YouTube where the video version of the episode will be available. And as always, have a fantastic rest of your day. I can't wait to chat again soon. Bye now. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date with every episode. See you next time. Talk to you soon.
Love you, Chica. Bye.